Welcome to the Inside Story on Franchising, with valuable insights on how to create multiple streams of income through franchising and building businesses. Host Ricardo Matos has spent more than 25 years building businesses in multiple industries and helping other business owners succeed. His expertise and entrepreneurial know-how will educate and inspire you. On the show, Ricardo brings together industry experts and insiders who share solutions and strategies, along with a passion for helping entrepreneurs make the best decision when it comes to buying a franchise or any business opportunity, and much more.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for all of our listeners who are listening to the Inside Story of Podcast. Today we have Dan Nicholson, who is a certified CPA and internet expert. What is your degree, internet expert, Dan?
Technical degree that I have is called E-commerce Information Systems.
E-commerce Information System. Thank you. Welcome aboard to our Inside Story of the franchise.
Yeah,
How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. Yeah, great to be chatting with you.
Awesome. First of all, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, who you are and what you are all about, and what is it that you actually do for business owners and business franchise alike?
Yeah, well, what I'm all about is helping people achieve financial certainty, which is what I think everyone is in search of. People ask me in my role in kind of the finance world, they ask me a lot of questions that ultimately boil down to, am I going to be okay? Am I going to run out of money? And those are from clients, people who I work with who are just getting started, but also people who have already made millions or hundreds of millions who are still asking those same types of questions. So ultimately, I think those questions, am I going to be okay, come back to this idea of certainty, financial certainty. And so that's what I'm really all about. And I can kind of give you my backstory too, if you think that's helpful to your listeners.
No, anything that you actually contribute to your organization for anyone else to find out and to know the who's in the house, right? So when people have a lot of, how do I do this? How do I go about doing this? Who do I need to contact? You're that key person of expertise and importance, right? When it comes down to knowing the tax burdens and so on. What can you tell us more about in relation to what your company do besides tax advices and uncertainties? I mean, what other uncertainties application that you use to transition a business owner towards that avoidance?
Yeah, so there's tactical things that I do that fit into the categories of I guess just a step back. I have a few different businesses. The one that I've been running for the last 10 plus years is called Nth Degree CPAs. We were recently named one of the 10 best run midsize firms in the US. Okay. And so we work with what I call purpose-driven entrepreneurs. I have some other related businesses that are around kind of this idea of certainty. I built an app called the Certainty app, and I built a bunch of knowledge, an operating system around creating certainty, and that's called Certainty U, that business. So those are sort of the companies that I'm running on a day-to-day basis. The thing about tax planning, for example, I've done 3,000 plus phone calls with prospects. So 3,000 plus prospects over the last 10 years. And I've talked to some of the most conservative people. I've talked to some of the most liberal people. If I put them in the same room, they'd kill each other. But everybody wants to pay the least amount in tax. Okay. And they want to do that because they want more cash, and they want more cash because they want more certainty. They want to get closer to the things that they want, their unique definition of wealth.
So can you give us an example of some of those strategies? For example, if you give one or two, you don't have to give them all, but can you give us a technique, let's say, for example, or a story that you feel that came into a very good accuracy for a client of yours?
Yeah, so here in the US, the tax code is behavior-based. If you behave a certain way, you can access the same deductions and credits. So investors, for example, on average pay 0 to 20%, big corporations 25% or less, individuals 30 to 50%, small business owners 40 to 60%. So we want to behave more like an investor or more like a big corporation. That was my previous life. I helped write an accounting standard. I worked for the big global CPA firm, Warren Buffett-backed company, so on and so forth. So I worked in that space before with the investors, with the big corporations. And so I take what I've learned and apply it to the small business owner who is paying the highest rates, right?
Yeah.
40 to 60%. And so there's two keystone behaviors, two things that investors are doing and big corporations are doing. Small business owners and individuals are not.
I see.
The first is that the investor, big time investor, the big corporation, they have a business plan for their finances.
Okay.
They have a roadmap. Pick your favorite billionaire. Who's your favorite billionaire?
Oh, Bill Gates, for example.
Bill Gates. Okay, perfect. I live in Seattle. I used to work on the Microsoft engagement. I did some other stuff around the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation from a tax perspective.
Okay.
Bill and people like Bill, and I've never worked one-on-one with Bill, but people like Bill, they have a roadmap for their taxes. He doesn't wake up on April 15th and go, oh crap, I owe a bunch of money in taxes.
Yeah.
It's being managed day to day, week to week, month to month. And they have trigger points for when things are going to change. When am I going to add another entity? What elections am I going to make? So on and so forth. So they have a roadmap, a business plan for their taxes. Almost every individual that I talk to, like I said, I've done 3,000 plus calls. They have no roadmap for their taxes. They don't know what the next strategy is. They don't know what they don't know. Step one, get a clear roadmap. Sorry, did you have a question on that?
So basically, when you're saying you're creating a roadmap, you're creating an A to C methodology for each individual client that is perfecting methodology based on their business structure or model. And what you stated was basically that the smaller the business, the higher the taxes, the bigger the business, the smaller the taxes. But what you're emphasizing is you try to take the smaller entity of taxes that is given to the big corporation and is strategizing in such a way that the small companies that they are paying higher taxes, you bring it down to a system of approach where they're paying less taxes as equally as they were the big corporation. Is that what you're trying to?
Exactly. Yep. The strategies that a big business or an investor are using, a small business can use many of those. They just don't know that they exist. Most CPAs are just archaeologists digging up the past. So they're always focused on the past. They never tell you about the things you could be doing. For example, it's quite easy to pay 0% tax in the US through something called real estate professional status. I probably have 200 plus clients across the US utilizing real estate professional status where it allows you to take real estate losses against all of your other income. And so it's pretty easy to generate real estate losses on paper through depreciation, something called cost segregation studies. So I give you two examples. I have one client, because of the tax law changes last year, they bought enough real estate in 2020 that they will offset all of their 2020 income tax, and they will carry it back and offset all of the previous 5 years worth of tax. So they're going to get a refund of all taxes paid for the previous 5 years, somewhere around $2 million they're going to get back. Low-hanging fruit. I have another client who we just started working with. They make combined around $1 million. They said, how much real estate do I need to buy to offset all my income this year? Which was around 3.3 million.
Interesting.
Buy around 3.3 million and you qualify for real estate professional status, we can probably generate enough losses to wipe out all of your income.
So that brings up a question based on what you're just saying. What are the financial or certainties, and why does it matter to the people to take this consideration into place?
I have what I call the 4 commandments of financial certainty. Basically, the key things that go into making financial-based decisions. The number 1 commandment is every action needs to get you closer to the things that you want.
Okay.
So your business and your finances, they exist to serve you, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You took all the risk, or you're always taking all the risk. It needs to serve you. It needs to get you closer. And so we want to use these tax strategies, things like real estate professional status. We keep more of our cash, and when we keep more of our cash, then we allocate it to funding the things that we want, right? And so it's not just saving the money, it's also strategically reallocating it. So my clients who are using real estate professional status to offset their income tax, what they're doing is they're taking all the money they would have paid in tax and they're reallocating it to buy more properties. And so over a 3 to 5 year period, they'll acquire enough properties so that they replace their wages or business income with passive income from real estate.
All right, so that's one methodology. Let's say for almost every business owner who are owning a particular franchise,
Yep.
as their franchise business is growing and evolving, and they're expanding their knowledge of their business, or they want to integrate new divisions of their business, and they want to do a side additional investment within those real estate. That's one of the strategies they can take into place. Now, what happened in a case of a situation where a small business owner who's trying to achieve a financial uncertainties, right? How can they benefit overall by using some of these strategies? Can they defer taxes? Can they eliminate taxes completely? Do they go what do you call it? A capital gain investment, reinvestment of those taxes? How, what are the certainties that they go into place for this financial aspects?
Coming from a background in research, and I mentioned briefly that I worked on this accounting. I did a fellowship, the board that writes all the accounting standards, and I worked on this derivatives and hedge accounting standards. And so at the heart, I'm a researcher. And so I look at the data across all my clients over the last 10 years, and I saw this trend.
Okay.
This trend that people, when they start I call it the highest month paradigm. And so what happens is that usually when people think when they start a business that their cash flow is just going to keep going up and up. They assume that if putting in more time and more effort is going to generate more cash. What ends up usually happening is that cash is all over the place. You know, oh, I just had my highest month. Now I'm out of money. Like, what happened? Okay, now I have my highest month. Okay, now I'm out of money again. And they're on this roller coaster, right? I'm sure you've heard about that or maybe experienced it. I've experienced it. So what's really happening is that risk keeps going up and up and up and up because they don't have a way of identifying the risks in their business. They don't have a way of eliminating those risks. And so what I'm really doing for clients is helping them get closer to the things that they want by growing their cash flow, keeping more of what they're already making, while also reducing risk. I call it rigging the game. Just basically putting yourself in a position where you only have upside. You don't have downside. And so we just systematically keep eliminating these risks that exist in your business or in your taxes.
So basically what you're contributing and supporting, giving to people is a tax defense network of entities that they can benefit from, optimizing the tax relief methodology for doing the COVID-19 that people are experiencing, and allows them to understand a victory way to implement their taxes for their business, correct?
Not just taxes, but just their overall financial picture. Taxes is one of the tools for how we help manage things.
So you just mentioned tools, and what are some of those tools that you actually use to integrate with each individual organization?
Well, one of them is something we built called the Certainty app, which if every action needs to get you closer to the things that you want, then we have to define what those things are. So we built a tool that basically shows you what are all your priorities, things like pay off debt, fund reserves, fund retirement, or maybe it's more preference-based things like buy a car, buy a vacation home. And so we help you define those priorities, put a dollar value to it and a date, and then connect your current cash flow and your current assets. And it calculates out and it tells you how much more you need to actually be making to hit all of those goals and targets. And then as your business grows or as you generate more cash, you're getting a real-time update on, are you closing the gap? Are you actually getting closer to the things that you want? Most people are running their business without clearly defining where they're at currently and where they really want to go in terms of their priorities.
Very interesting. You know, I heard that you recently received an award. Is that the rigging game? What can you tell us about the rigging the game? Or what exactly is that? Is that an award? Or is that something that you guys created?
Yeah, I guess in terms of award, I was just named top 40 under 40 accountant globally for the 4th time. So I just got that in the last couple of weeks. Rigging the Game is the name of my upcoming book. I also have a podcast called Rigging the Game. And it's just this idea that your business exists to serve you. And the people who are wildly successful with their finances or their pursuits figure out how to systematically make sure that they're okay with every possible outcome. So basically, let's remove all the bad things that we're not okay with and only have outcomes that we're either okay with or really happy about, right? And so rigging the game is putting in the systems, processes, tools, operating system to continually create the outcomes that you want.
Now, can you elaborate more in depth how a particular business owner can benefit the most by using that certainty app that you guys have created?
Yeah, the default assumption that people have is that more is the answer. I just need more revenue. I just need more income. I need more employees. I need more locations. But they've never calculated how much more they need to fund all of their priorities because they haven't clearly defined their priorities. They haven't put a date and a dollar value. So the Certainty app calculates for you real time how much more you need to be making. And then we've built in upcoming releases, ways to use your bank accounts for decision making. And ultimately, you'll get a score, a readiness score that tells you how much risk your business has, each business. And the lower the score, the more risk, meaning the less you're able to take bets. If you have a low readiness score, you're not in a position to hire someone. You're not in a position to grow. We always assume we're in a position to grow because we haven't defined what we want and we don't have a way of examining risk.
So basically your app, what it really does and entails for any business owner or franchise owner is a tool that integrates a methodology of studies within the business platform, how it's progressing, and how to allow you to either stay where you're at, plan ahead for the near future, or to see where you're at or need to be at in order to attain certain additional growth for your business and certain additional manpower that you can do an actual calculated methodology to take place before to taking action will be uncertain, but give you more of a certainty on doing things correctly.
Yep, that's right.
It kind of automates the process, right? As you're progressing little by little, it allows it to, as your business is progressing, it allows you to see where you're at and where you need to be at by monitoring the use of the app and the integration within your accounts, correct?
That's right.
Oh, very nice. That's very intuitive.
Yeah, the idea is that, say you wanted to drive to meet me, I live in Seattle, say you wanted to leave right now and drive to meet me. Well, you could open up Google Maps and you'd have to tell it two things. You'd have to say where you're at currently, your current physical location, and then you'd have to give it my address, right? Otherwise the directions would be wrong. If you put in the your wrong current location or you put in the wrong final destination, Google Maps is still going to be correct. It's still going to calculate, based off what you entered. But if you followed those directions, you wouldn't end up in the final location, right? That's what we're doing with the Certainty app is we're saying, where are you at currently? What is your current financial position? What are your current priorities? Where do you want to be? And let's calculate for you how much more you need. What is the actual path to close the gap? And once we've done that, then we can do things like tax savings and other financial strategies to say, instead of it taking you 10 hours to drive to meet me, here's a couple shortcuts so we can get you there in 6 hours. But unless we give the right current and final destination, the optimization doesn't matter.
So basically you have created a methodology or to create an autonomous application that allows you to see your business progressing or even to tell you where you need to be at to move forward within the next stage of your growth. Interesting. And it seems like you have a lot in your plate based on what you're telling me. It automates the methodology for each individual client, correct?
Yeah. It's been about 20 years worth of research and trying to condense it, simplify it down to tools that are automated.
So what is one of the most important things that business owners or a system business should be doing right now with your app? Integrating it?
Yeah, the most important thing is getting clear on your priorities. If you're not clear on the final destination and you're not clear where you're at currently, then all your strategies that you're implementing, you run the risk that it gets you further away.
Now, Dan, where can you tell us more about where can the audience go and learn more about you and connect with you and get some more information about your app?
Yeah, certaintyapp.com is a good place to go. Otherwise, if I've got a ton of free resources. We do weekly webinars on like things like the real estate tax thing I mentioned, and teach other things. And you can sign up for all that free stuff at profitflywheel.com. So those are the two best places probably to go.
Well, Don, to summarize, you're an expert in financial uncertainties. You're a business decision maker who can help owning entrepreneurship or even entrepreneurs in the franchise world or any other business how to mitigate risk by creating a systematic systems of approach of opportunities by using methodologies of your app called the Rigging Game, which you got a book coming out that integrates also with your app. But your app is called the Certainty app, correct?
Yep, Certainty app.
Certainty app, and your new book is called the Rigging the Game, correct?
Yep, Rigging the Game, the 4 Commandments of Financial Certainty.
And when would that be available and where can they download it? Can they get it from Amazon? Where can they be getting?
Yeah, coming out in February of 2021.
2021. So we are along the way shortly then. Well, listen, I don't want to take much of your time, but it looks like we're running a little short out of time. And I want to thank you very much for being part of the inside story of franchise and integrating your ideas and the methodologies and your products and services for other business, franchise, and business owners alike. I appreciate you very much for your time, and thank you for being part of our franchise entity.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Inside Story on Franchising with your host, Ricardo Matos. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. That way, you'll never miss a new episode, and you can help spread the word to more entrepreneurs like yourself. We really appreciate that effort, and we'll catch you next time.